Hi friends, it's Jacqueline with Craftin' with Jacqueline, and I am super excited about today's video. I have been absolutely loving these coastal vibe decor pieces that I've been seeing, and honestly, this video by itself has given me so many more ideas. But let's go ahead with DIY number one. I took this little wooden cup, little box thing that I got from Hobby Lobby. It was on clearance, so I think I got it for I believe $2.50. I think it was originally $4.99, or the little sticker said $4.99, and I got it half off. And then I also got these little beads. They're the little seashell beads, puka shells, I think is what they're called. And I just got these in the bead section of Hobby Lobby, and then I am just going to glue them into a design onto this little wooden cup. I'm kind of doing them in just one layer at the bottom, and then I'm going to kind of layer them into a flower look. And while I was doing these, I did 4 to make each flower. And I did realize that I should have been putting like the smallest end together in the center and then the biggest end on the outside. So the first ones are definitely not that way, but as I kept going, I definitely did them with the smaller side in the middle, and I thought they turned out so good once I started doing that. So do what I say and not what I do at the very beginning. Just do the small way in the middle and it'll turn out absolutely beautiful. And then I just did a straight layer of the shells at the very top, just like the bottom as well. So 2 layers of the flowers and 2 layers of just the straight across shells. And here's how it turned out. I think it is so cute and so perfect for a little storage. I did just put the lid on the bottom, and I think I'm going to keep my remotes in there just by my TV. Okay, moving right along to DIY number 2. This one is probably my favorite. This one is a wind chime out of shells. So I'm starting with just like this kind of fishing line that you can get in the jewelry section. I don't actually know that it's called fishing line, but it's very similar to that. And then just some crimp beads. And these shells already came with holes in them. These ones are from my wedding. If you didn't know, I really like this shell themed design, obviously from my excitement for this video, but also because it was part of my wedding. So celebrating 10 years actually, so that's really exciting to be reusing these things that have just been sitting in my basement. So anyways, so these ones have holes in them already just because we got them from Etsy shop back then, and then I just kept hold of them, and so they're probably used for crafts anyways because they have the holes in them. And I'm just going to use that, and then the fishing line and a little crimp bead. And then I'm going to probably leave about 1 inch to 1.5 inches little section and use another crimp bead, and then add some jewelry or some more shells to the line. So this one's going to be my longest line of the wind chime, and so I'm going to do as many as I can on this line. It ended up being about it was 11 sections plus the bottom piece, and then I am just going to continue doing that. Every few, like 1.5 inches, I do another bead section and using crimp beads to keep them into place. And then after this section is done, or this whole entire strand is done with all 11 sections, I am then just going to do another strand, but that strand is only going to have 10 sections, and then so on and so forth until I have my last one, which will have 2 sections. So it'll have the bead or the shell at the very end, and then the bead section. So that way each little section can go around, and it'll eventually go from like the smallest to the largest on the wind chime. And then for the shells that did not have a hole in them, that I didn't get from Etsy, that I probably just got from somewhere else. I'm not sure where I got all of these little pieces, but for the ones that didn't have the holes in them, I just ended up using a tiny little bead and a crimp bead to hold that one bead to the line, and then I'm just going to hot glue these to the actual seashells that don't have the holes, just using some hot glue. And then once each section was done, I am just going to use another crimp bead, and this is actually just an embroidery hoop. I was going to use something different, but then I couldn't find the top section for this embroidery hoop, so I was like, well, I guess this will work perfect because I can't find the bottom anyways, or the top, whichever one it is. So I'm just going to use this, and it works perfect. And I'm just going to clamp the bead and wrap the string around, and then crimp the bead onto it. And I'm just going to continue that for every little strand piece that I have. I believe there was, I think I did 12 in total. I did repeat some of the sections, so I think there's like 2 sections with 6 on them and 2 sections with 3 on them, just so that I could fill up the entire hoop and it wouldn't look too spaced out.
Let's go. Freedom. Freedom.
And then once every strand was attached to the embroidery hoop, I then noticed that these pieces were sliding around a lot, and I didn't really know if I wanted to just glue them down, but I ended up deciding that I would add some of these little pearl beads into each section, and then slide the piece that I want there right next to the beads, so that each little section would stay in place based on gluing these beads just with some hot glue onto this wooden hoop, and then sliding the section over, and then continuing with 3 more beads. And then I did that all the way around. I do still need to be able to hang this, so I did take some floral wire. I get these at Michael's when they're just on sale. They usually go on sale during like fall and spring times with the floral sections. So I just picked up this brown one, and I'm going to double it up, wrapping it around the hoop and then twisting each little section. And I did 3 sections, and then I'm going to twist those together and add like a little hoop at the very top so that I can hang from that little hoop. And if you're anything like me and worried about these shells breaking, I can tell you right now that this has been hanging in my house for about 2 weeks now, and none of the shells have broken, and it has been very windy, so that is a great sign. All right, and DIY number 3 is a beautiful resin tray. I got this tray at Dollar Tree, and then I'm just going to use some of my very leftover resin and some of these shell chips from Hobby Lobby. So for the resin, you're going to need equal parts A and B, and you're just going to mix those together. Like I said, I'm just using the very leftover of these bottles, so there's not a whole lot to work with. But I've got enough to make this cute little tray. So I just mixed up those equal parts, and then I did add a tiny bit of this little glitter. It's like what you can find in the section for like the epoxy section. It's just like a little fine glitter that'll make it a little bit different colored versus just the plain clear. I thought would be absolutely beautiful for this theme. I then just spread the resin down on the very bottom layer, just by kind of moving the tray from left to right, bottom to top, just kind of moving the resin around. And then once all the resin is on the very base layer, I took those seashell chips. That's a tongue twister for sure. I took those little chips and I put them on the very base layer, just in kind of any design that I thought looked good. And hey, if you're liking this video so far, it would be super awesome if you hit the like button and maybe even subscribed. I did take my little mini torch and used that to make sure I could get the bubbles out from the resin. Just did that a little layer of that. You can kind of see a little bit of the bubbles kind of disappearing when I touch it with the little fire torch. DIY number 4 is going to use those same chips from previously, the tongue twister ones, the seashell chips. So I am just going to take 2 canvases. These are just mini canvases. I believe I got them from Dollar Tree as well. I think they come in a pack of 3. And I just picked these up, and I'm just going to layer them with this beautiful light blue color. And I did it just very lightly so that some of the white still shows through. And then I am just going to layer these into designs of sea creatures. So I did a sea turtle, and then I also did a crab. And I honestly think these turned out so cute. I absolutely love them, but it's really fun just to kind of play around with them and see if they can come up with any design. But these are the 2 that I came up with. And to secure these down, I did just use some E6000 glue, but I don't think you really need to use this strong of glue to keep these down. I think hot glue would have just done fine. The only reason I did this is because it was sitting right next to me and my hot glue gun was not turned on yet. Even though it is a wireless one, it still takes a little time to heat up. And I guess I was just feeling lazy and used the E6000 instead. But I definitely think the hot glue would have done just fine. I absolutely love the way this crab turned out. I think it is so stinking cute. But if you were to do one of these, or even another animal or sea creature, which one would you do? And which one is your favorite out of these 2? Okay, DIY number 5 is actually part of the reason I am doing this video. I saw it and immediately was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. I saw this on Amazon and it was $100 or 100 and something dollars, and I was like, you know what, I can DIY that for less. So I picked up these frame pieces. I've got the 28 inches and then the 24 inches, and these are just from Hobby Lobby, and they come, you just buy each section separately and then use them to make your own little frame. I believe they are $2.40 per piece for these ones. They do have different sizes, and I do believe that they're different prices per size, but those are the price for the ones that I picked up. And then I also picked up this pack of shells. They're the Capiz, or however you say that, shell type. I'll go ahead and link this pack. I got 180 of these ones, and I basically used almost all of them for this project. But I am just going to add some of that kind of like fishing line that I talked about earlier that you can get in the crafters jewelry section. And I am just going to insert into one of the holes, and then wrap it around and insert back into that same hole, and then do the same thing for the other side so that these will stay in place on the line. And I continue to do that for all 10. I do 10 strands of 10 of these little shell pieces, and then I also do 9 strands of 9 to go over top of them. So I do 10, and then we'll do 9 that go over top of them. Now that all of the pieces are together and I've got my 19 strands, I have 10 of the 10 strand pieces and then 9 of the 9 pieces. So 10 total. Now we're going to add them to the base frame, and I'm going to do that by, I picked up these little ring screws. They're called screw eyes. I picked up 2 packs of these because they come in 30, and I wanted to be able to do one on each side of the frame. So I'm going to screw these into each place so that I can hang these on the frame. Okay, so I'm going to start screwing these in. The first one, I'm just going to make sure that it's placed right, and I'm going to place it right here. Screw this into the base frame. Okay, I'm having a little bit of difficulty actually getting it in, so I'm just going to hold it down a little bit. Just a tiny bit, and then I hopefully can screw it in after that. Oh goodness. Okay, now that I've got the one screwed in, I'm just going to mark where these will go in for all the way around. And I just did that by basically measuring out this and then measuring out the next one. And it will go like that. And then there will be one in between as well. And it's going to go 10 across. So I'm just marking out, and this ends up being about 2.5 inches. So I'm just going to continue doing that all the way down. Okay, and now I'm just going to screw one of these pieces in to each of those little marks that I made, and then also do the exact same thing on the other side of this frame. Okay, now that those are all added, I am just going to add one right in between so that the shells can overlay. So the 10 will go here, and then we'll do 9 in between. So I'll go ahead and add those now. Okay, so this row I put a little bit in front of these ones. I don't know if you can really tell, but that way it'll sit a little closer. So these ones are back a tiny bit further, and then this one is a little bit closer so that it'll sit closer when I put them in. And then to attach these, I am just going to use more of those crimp beads. I'll go ahead and add those to the pack that I got from Amazon. It comes with a silver and gold, so that if you do need those, you can add them. I'll just go ahead and link them in the description box below. But do just use some crimp beads to add them to the top and bottom sections, and then I just continue this all the way through for each little section. And then for the 9-piece ones, I do just leave about a 2-inch section before I add the crimp bead, just so that there is like a little bit of the clear wire, or I guess clear fishing line. That's what I'm going to just keep calling it. Just so that there is a little bit of a layer effect for each row, so that the top row is a little bit higher than the second row. But seriously, the way this shines and the noise it makes me so happy. Makes me actually feel like I'm at the beach, which I am very much not. But for DIY number 6, I did pick up this. This is actually a Better Together sign that was given to us when we got together, or actually I think it was probably when we got married. So it has been in my basement for about 10 years. I just haven't had anywhere that I have put it. So I am just going to update it. And it looks like it was from Hobby Lobby originally too, so we're just going to update it with some paint. I did this little khaki color, and I did this all over just because I want that back section to have a little bit of it peeping through. And then I did a second layer just for the top 2 sections that I do want to make sure are just this khaki color. And then I did that light blue from previous DIYs, and I'm just going to do that for this bottom, or I guess base layer. Just like I said, having that khaki color peep through, I just made this layer very light, and I just did the one. And then once the paint was all dry, I took some of this seaglass and shell mix from Hobby Lobby, as well as some of the driftwood. Now, the only issue with this driftwood is the fact that they are all the same size, so it kind of made this project a little bit more difficult. But I took some of the pieces that were kind of odd shaped and a little bit different, and I'm going to place them down at the bottom. And then once all of those are arranged how I want them, I am then just going to take that sea glass section or pieces, and I'm going to make little tiny birds out of them. I know it sounds odd, but I saw this vision and I thought it would be so cute, so I am trying it out. So I'm taking some of those little pieces and I'm going to use them to make little birds that are sitting on these little perches, which is the driftwood. And how I did that is I'm just going to glue everything down, and then once everything is glued, I can then take a Sharpie pen. It's kind of one of those ballpoint Sharpie pen thingy-majigers, and I'm just going to use little feet, little beaks, and an eye to make them look more like birds. And for the final DIY for today's video, I am taking all of those seashells that I had still left over from my wedding, like I said earlier, and this is just one of those baskets that has stayed in my basement as of right now. And so I'm just going to use some of these seashells and just picking out some of the best ones for a little wall decor piece. And I did love some of these pieces, but I thought they were a little too small. So I then decided maybe if I did 2 together, then it would be just fine to do them by themselves, or as a section of this art piece, because I want to do 9 pieces on a wood plank. So I found a couple that I thought would look great together, as in the 2 pieces. So I'm just going to do that for a couple of those little sections. I then just placed the shells how I thought would look best, and some of them had a little bit of color, so I wanted to make sure that they weren't all right next to each other, and mainly because most of them are just plain white. And then I did want to also incorporate some of those two pieces, and I thought how I arranged them in the end was very pretty. But here is where I am just kind of messing with them, seeing what's going to look best. I was originally going to leave that board that I got from Dollar Tree by itself, just plain, but once I had the shells on there, I decided that it did need a light brush of some paint. So I tried to do a very light brush, just like without any water or anything like that, but it like a dry brush, and it was not turning out. So I ended up just having to use a lot more paint and doing all of that paint color just on the entire blank. But once it was dry, I was able to hot glue all of these little shells to the piece. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and go ahead and give this a like and thumbs up if you enjoyed, or go ahead and subscribe for more videos down the line. Like I mentioned previously, I absolutely love this coastal theme. So if you also like it, go ahead and let me know so I can do some more.